All right. Hey, everybody. It's Matt Milia here, and you are live with us for Business Insights. And if you want to learn how to nail, scale, and grow your business and do it even during down economic times, you're going to want to tune in for this entire thing. Welcome to Business Insights with Matt Milia. I'm your host, Matt Milia, and in this podcast, we'll talk about the real, raw, uncut business success secrets you won't find anywhere else. Follow my journey from entry level to CEO. We discuss real actionable items you can plug into your business right away. To subscribe to our weekly top tips, you can go to www.mattpodcast.com and join our community of elite high-level performers. And if you're interested in our inside sales company, you can go to www.appointmentstoday.com to jump on a free strategy call. And now, stay tuned for our podcast. All right. What's happening? So you guys are here. You're in for a treat today. I have an amazing guest. I'm really excited to go deep here. And this is actually episode number 30. So we are just providing value weekly for everyone that is tuning in. If you like what you see today, click the like button and comment, throw some things in here, ask some great questions. And I've got Mr. Josh Morton on. Josh, first and foremost, thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, good morning. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Well, Josh and I were up I think I was up till about 6:30 yesterday in a strategy session. So
about 4 a.m. for me. So I don't know how you're even up. I mean, it's hard for me. So I don't know how you're doing it.
I'm pushing through. So so Josh, tell everyone a little bit about yourself and share with everyone a little bit about some things about you.
Yeah, I guess you're not a real entrepreneur unless you're tired, right? So if your eyes are strained, then it shows you're putting the work in. But so I was born in Orem, Utah, and about 11 months old, my father passed away, so we relocated to Colorado. My mom had another kid after that, but I also have 4 older sisters. So single mom, 6 kids. And I've lived in pretty much Parker, Colorado my entire life since moving to Colorado from Utah. So just been building businesses since a very young age. For some reason, no one introduced entrepreneurship to me. It wasn't something that, somebody was like, hey, come sell something for me or do this with me. I just always had a knack for selling stuff. And a big part of that was to support my mom. I think something that I've always been blessed with is awareness. I've always been aware of, what my family was going through. I've heard similar stories of people talk about how they got in entrepreneurship, and they say, I didn't know we were broke or whatever until I was like 15, 16, right? Like, even though my mom did a great job of making it seem like we weren't, right? She really, is everything. She did a lot for us to make sure that we had everything we wanted, lived in a great area. So it's kind of interesting that I always described it as we had enough money to live in a nice area and to go to a nice school. And then everything outside of that, we didn't really have, discretionary income. So I always knew that if I wanted something, I'd had to work for it. And just started selling stuff really young. First memory of entrepreneurship, I was 4 years old. And it was the 4th of July, and there's a bunch of these little boxes of American flags, and I went door to door selling those. And then that just transpired into me just always hustling, looking for other ways to make money. And then I'd say about 3 or 4 years ago, I got a lot more serious with that. Instead of hustling and grinding, I started working on scaling an actual company. And it still feels like the same thing, though, right? Because there's just so many ups and downs and so many different ideas and concepts that I've tried and sell partnerships and stuff. So it still feels like I'm in a hustle, but still working through that. But currently today, I run a digital marketing company. We do a lot of appointment setting, mainly within the home improvement space. So that's kind of what we've been doing recently.
Love it. So I mean, for everyone that's watching, and I know, Josh, this is not, it's funny because every time I ask you, like, I'm 21. Uh, but 21 years old, already have built quite a few multiple six-figure businesses, really just working on helping people leverage and grow. And I mean, yeah, if I was where you are at 21, life trajectory, I mean, yeah, and I still feel relatively young. I'm 34. So, I mean, I still feel young enough to where I've got time, but at the same time, I also know that for me, it's about putting out, putting out something that I'm passionate about, putting out an amazing product, and at the same time, providing a flawless service. And I feel like what you've been doing really has been really amazing. With being somebody at such a young age, I mean, first and foremost, what advice would you give to someone who, because most people at this point, they've either been working for other people or they've thought about starting a business, but maybe fear or limiting beliefs or someone who put some bad advice in their ears got in the way. I mean, what advice would you give for somebody who is a young aspiring entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds pretty cliche, but take action, right? Because that's the biggest thing is, you can have great ideas and good business acumen, whatever it might be, but you just never take action on the ideas, and nothing will come from it. And so that's pretty much the biggest thing is I've never been afraid of risk, and I've also always been an outcast growing up. I was a class clown and I was getting in trouble. And through that, I just realized, hey, I don't care what people think about me. And so I didn't care about my perception and failing and stuff like that. And mix that with the fact that I was fine with taking risk. I had no pressure when it came to, oh, you're not going to college, right? Because a lot of people have that pressure. And I said, no, I'm owning a business. Like I was very hard set on that sense. Like I think I made my decision not to go to college in seventh grade. And I told my whole family, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to college. I'm pursuing entrepreneurship. And I was multiple years before I even was faced with that decision, and I already knew, what that decision was. But I'd say taking action was you learn everything. I've hired coaches and mentors along the way, but in the very beginning stages, you only learn through failing. As you get smarter and you grow, you learn through other people's failures. But in the beginning, for me, it was just learning a lot through making mistakes, and then it just becomes second nature. And like I said, I had a lot of experience with interacting with people because I started doing it when I was really young, like 4 years old. Mowing lawns when I was 6, 7, 8. It's crazy because I think back and I'm like, did I honestly mow like people's lawns when I was 6 years old? And it's like I legitimately was pushing, my lawnmower up to different neighborhoods, even, crossing busy streets and stuff to mow someone's lawn. And so I was kind of primed in the sense that I was always really good at interacting with people. And then it was just a matter of, finding out what actually works, and lots of failure. I'm still going through it now. I'm definitely not where I want to be. And, you really have to be committed to the journey though, right? You have to be committed to the process, because if you're not, entrepreneurship might not be for you. Right. So you really have to, be willing to risk it all, lose it all, gain it back, lose it again, and really, be committed to that process. Because if you're not, it's really easy to get discouraged and find yourself wanting to quit.
So true. And I love how you said, about taking action. And I mean, just, yeah, I mean, you can have a great idea, but ideas really only get you so far. And yeah, if you don't take action, I mean, that idea just dies on the vine. And I mean, I've had plenty of amazing ideas, and then I just myself didn't even have the capacity to take the action. And it's funny because I was also a class clown in school, and also did I actually went to school for auto mechanics because I desperately wanted to get out of the classroom because it didn't interest me, and yeah. I knew. But every test I took, every assessment always said, you should be an entrepreneur. And I'm like, what the hell is an entrepreneur? At the time, I'm like, well, what does that even mean? So it really does take that action to really equal results. I mean, for everyone that's watching, especially during these challenging times, taking action is going to be the most challenging, but also probably one of the most simple things that you can do. But Josh, in your opinion, I mean, what do you think gets in the way of people taking action? What do you think are some things that stop people?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of programming and I'm talking about programming of ourselves, not programming from the news, not programming from our employers, right, whatever that is. It's how you programmed yourself. Values, right? Some people value certainty. Certainty is not one of my values, and so I've always been comfortable with either making a lot of money or making very little, and still being happy with that, right? And so that's the Tony Robbins things he talks a lot about. Your values, and some people will value certain things that don't necessarily make them a high performing sales rep or an entrepreneur. Whereas somebody that values certain other aspects, they're more likely to succeed in entrepreneurship. But I'd say a lot of people sweat the bigger actions because they also haven't taken the time to really stay true to making taking the smaller actions, right? It all leads up to being comfortable with making big decisions. And I made a post about it a couple of days ago, probably about a week ago, actually. And I talked about how one of the best things that I've built over the last few years is learning to be really decisive. And that comes down to really small decisions, and just consistently training that muscle of making those decisions has led to the point where now I make really big decisions without hesitation. And in the beginning, you might not be able to start off with your massive ideas and be able to implement those right away, but you need to start working on those small things. And eventually you'll get to the point where you're comfortable enough with making bigger decisions.
I love that. It's a series of micro decisions, everything we do every day. It's for everyone that's watching, an amazing book that is out there, Darren Hardy's The Compound Effect, where literally every single decision that you make, whether it is to get up at a certain time, go to sleep at 6 a.m. because you're masterminding about an amazing business strategy and you just can't sleep because you're that passionate about it, or the fact that you're making a decision to eat right, get up, take action, whatever it is that you do, not taking an action is making a decision. So I think for you, Josh, I mean, and really you're a connector, is what I've really come to discover working with you, is that you are amazing at connecting the right people, putting the pieces together, and really making it so that it all works seamlessly. But where does that come from? I mean, because that's not something that most people can learn in a book. I mean, where did you pick up a skill set like that where you just can connect people and find the right people to work together?
Interesting. Yeah, I've never really considered that about myself. I'm not super introspective. I take so much action that I don't take time to think why I did it or what it might be. But I mean, growing up, we grew up kind of in a chaotic household, in the sense that I had 4 older sisters and it was me, and not understanding their language whatsoever. And my mom worked full time and I didn't have a father. So we kind of just had war every day in the house. And my mom would turn off her phone when she went to work because she knew we were going to call her about something stupid, because we're all fighting, right? And so that was life for a while. We just all had little wars going on in the house. Nothing serious, but we were really chaotic and we didn't really have a lot of control. Besides, my oldest sister was responsible for taking care of us, right, and making sure that we didn't kill each other. And I felt like through that, I learned that, because I was very emotional at a young age, extremely emotional, and I let my emotions control me. But after like getting beat so many times and realizing, hey, my emotions aren't going to lead to me being successful or don't help me, I realized to kind of control my emotions. And in a roundabout way, I learned to start delegating the wars instead of being a part of them. And so then I started, being the mediator between the instigations and trying to find ways to make those work and to kind of solve the problems for my sisters or whatever that might be. And so I felt like through that, I I started realizing that I can kind of have a control over people by, you know, talking to them in certain ways or whatever that might be. And so I started kind of mediating and delegating. And I think that's kind of where some of that comes from. And also, I guess I have very strong work ethic, but I'm inherently lazy in the sense that I want to have a business where I'm not super involved. And so through that, I said, hey, I would, originally mow people's lawns, but then I said, hey, this is terrible. I'm mowing, 15, 20 lawns a day, and I'm going nuts. And then I said, how about I just charge $20 more or $10 more, whatever that might be, and then just have Johnny down the street mow the lawns for me, and I still make the same amount of money. And so I just got better at realizing, and then also my integrity though is tied to the people that I have do the work. And so that was always big for me is, I wanted to make sure I was connecting the right people. So the right people, that took more time. Connecting somebody to do the work, the person in the work is pretty simple, but the right person to do the work is what took a lot of the wrong people to find, and so I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that I've heard so many different things now, red flags and stuff, that I've gotten a lot better at realizing when, somebody's not the right fit for it. And just keeping conversations open with people as well. Always having a strong network of people to kind of integrate into certain pieces of business has definitely worked really well.
There's a lot of valuable takeaways there. And I mean, so you had 4 older sisters, so you were constantly having to almost mediate between the chaos that was going on in the house. And I mean, as far as the handling that day to day had to be challenging. So, and I mean, God bless your mom. I mean, that's amazing that, raising 6 kids as a single mother. I mean, that is, I couldn't even imagine that. That's just amazing. So, I mean, with where you are today, and kind of going back to just what you had wrote about last year, where you almost died on the mountainside. I mean, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about that and how that's really changed your perspective.
Yeah. So last year in October, we were up in Buena Vista, Colorado, and we were doing some hiking and rafting. And actually, I grew up on dirt bikes. One thing I didn't tell you about is I didn't grow up with a father, and so I was always looking for men in my life to fill that role of being a fatherly figure for me. And God makes divine appointments, and He definitely put some men in my life that have definitely helped me out tremendously in where I am now. And they're still a big part of my life. But the neighborhood that I lived in when I was a kid, my neighbor across the street, his name was Kirk. And the first day we moved there, I met Kirk. Helped us move into the house. Very friendly guy, man of God. Started taking me to church. And I was about 6.5, 7 years old at the time. And then he also taught me how to ride dirt bikes. And so ever since 6.5, 7 years old, I've been riding dirt bikes. We used to do it twice a week. Like he would take us out of school early. He'd have the trailer loaded up with all the bikes, and we had, 15 dirt bikes. And like he was crazy. His garage, he was a bachelor. He had two boys, twin boys, no wife, and he was making good money. And
it's 15 dirt bikes. So I mean, the wife would probably not like that, having that spend that kind of money, because I know those things aren't cheap.
And maintenance and riding them weekly. I remember we would he took my whole family in, right? So he taught my sisters how to ride dirt bikes as well, and his kids, and he just really connected the entire neighborhood. And actually, looking back, I think that a lot of my connection skills came from him as well, because he was so open to different people, and he was always connecting. And so I guess in a secondhand way, I witnessed him making connections in front of me, and I got better at doing that as well. But just overall great guy. And so he taught me how to dirt bike. So I've been dirt biking ever since I was like 7 years old. And when you crash on a dirt bike, you stick your hands out to catch yourself because there's no roll cage. There's nothing to protect you, right? So I've only ridden dirt bikes. I rode some ATVs and stuff, but I didn't ride any side-by-side. So we were up in Buena Vista, and we decided, hey, last day of the trip, let's rent a side-by-side and go hit the trails. And so we rented the side-by-side. There is a roll cage in there. So when you do flip it, you're supposed to keep your hands in and not catch yourself. Well, I did the opposite. I stuck my hand out the window, tried bracing my fall as it was flipping on the driver's side, and snapped my wrist up pretty bad. So I ended up breaking my wrist, a couple ribs. I punctured my artery, or cut my artery on my left arm as well. So I was bleeding out, and I was sticking my thumb in the hole to try to stop it from squirting. But we were on the mountain for about 2 hours before the sheriff showed up, helped us flip over the side-by-side, got it back down the mountain, and then they actually flight for life me to Colorado Springs so I could get surgery. But yeah, man, I mean, I guess the biggest thing that I've realized from that, and it's not the normal, near-death experience I take every day. My whole perspective's changed. I don't take anything for granted anymore. That's definitely not the case. What I started realizing is that I always build businesses, and some of this is still like something I do today, but I built businesses and all the money went back into the business to rebuild it. But I realized I wanted to start treating myself more. So the biggest thing I did is I started building my business focused on my goals and my dreams and what I wanted. So one thing I wanted, which is kind of ironic, is I wanted a brand new motorcycle, right? After snapping my arm off, my reward was a motorcycle. So and I rarely spend money on myself. And so I bought a motorcycle. And I've been spending more money on myself, treating myself more. Because if you have a business that doesn't really do anything for you, I mean, it's fun running the business and not having to be employed. But then you get to the point where you're like, why am I doing this? Like when I could get a job and I'd be making tons of money, way less stress. My paycheck's always there and my paycheck doesn't get charged back, and all this, right? And then I'll be able to spend the money on myself. And so I got to the point in business where I got to I've done it so many times where it was just every single penny back into the business. I started realizing like I want to actually make this business buy things for me. And so I started spending more money on myself after that accident. So, but nothing super major, nothing inspirational or philosophical came from that. Like I said, I'm not a super introspective person. So I'm really good at moving on, because I'm so focused on, building and the present that I don't even think about the crash at all,
Well, and it goes back to you remove the emotion and you extract the lesson. That's probably from a coach I've had, it's probably one of the best pieces of advice I've been given, because sometimes we look at things and there's nothing wrong. I mean, obviously we're all emotional beings, but that emotion will, in a lot of cases, cloud judgment, cloud decision making, and ultimately it does get in the way in times. So I mean, I think that you definitely learned a great lesson. And one of the things, treating yourself, I mean, you have to. I mean, you're putting so much time, so much effort, so much energy. I mean, hell, we were up till, you were up till 4, I was up till 6. We were literally on a almost 4-hour call, building out all of our projections, forecasting for the future, making sure our model was, scalable, duplicatable. And for everyone that's watching, I mean, building a business, it's funny because I remember in the 90s, in like the early, in the 90s, it was like being like a rapper and being able to like make it in the, being able to make it in the music industry. And then in the early, the 2000s, it was being in business and owning your own business. And then we had, being a social media influencer. And there's so many different businesses now. There's so many different ways to leverage your time. But if you're going to leverage time, isn't it better to leverage someone else's time and work together to build something as a team, and that way you can, I mean, I love when people say, oh, I got in the business to be my own boss. You're really never per se your own boss, because if you decide that you just don't want to do something, that's fine, but it's going to affect you in a different way.
Yeah.
For you, I know we both had we had some similar coaches. What would you say is probably some of the most insightful guidance you've gotten from some of the coaches? And, for everyone that's watching, this might be an area where you want to write some of this down, because if you're looking to start a business, these are going to be some of those principles.
Yeah. So this is actually, and take this as you will, but I'd say that I actually had the opposite experience in the sense that I realized that most of my success was going to come from me and not the coaches. And I think that's an issue with a lot of people looking at getting into entrepreneurship, getting into business, is they think that there's somebody with an answer that is going to fix their problems for them. Right. And I definitely led into a lot of relationships with that outlook, thinking that, if I could only get in this mastermind group, or if I was only a part of this program, or if I was only in the presence of this coach, then, it would automatically have this outcome. But that's just not the case. And what I realized, especially in an age where, like you said, there's so many different ways to make money, there's just so many distractions in business. And so one of the things I realized is, like, you really have to learn to get the distractions away from you. Really focus on what you're trying to accomplish in that one business. And then this is where the coaches come into play. Find specific coaches that only service that one specific thing that you're trying to solve. So in the beginning, the coach that we both used, very broad, right? He does many different things. He does sales, he does marketing, he sells programs, he's a business coach, a lot of different things. I realized that wasn't the type of coach or mentor. I think mentorship's free, by the way. I would never pay for mentorship. I'll pay for coaching. I think mentorship is out of, somebody's, the good of their heart to actually want to help somebody, the younger generation or whatever, rise up and kind of take their place. And so I've paid for coaching. My number one thing, like I said, when I pay for coaching, is making sure that is a very specific type of coaching that I'm paying for. So when I went into building my software company last year, I said, I'm going to hire somebody that's only built software companies and has made a lot of money doing it. And so that is why I hired Matt Ganzik. He's built multiple very, really successful softwares. And that was a great experience because he taught me exactly what I needed to know about software and building software. And so I'd say, when somebody's looking to hire a coach, don't just hire someone because their Instagram pictures or because they have, made other people's lives change. Figure out what exactly do you need, and then find that specific person that's going to solve that. Because their attention also, I mean, if they're a coach and they're doing many different things as well, then they're likely not going to be able to provide you what you need. And obviously application, like I said, at the end of the day, it's all about taking action. But I realized, hey, the answers were in the Bible, and then the answers were in the original entrepreneur sense then as well. But ever since then, it's pretty much been the same knowledge. There's no new knowledge, right? There's different ways to run businesses, and there's different tactics and stuff. But the knowledge and the wisdom, right? We're drowning in information, but we're starving for wisdom. So if you're looking for wisdom, that's already been established. There's no new wisdom. I think Earl Schoaf said that, or what's the Ray Dalio, right?
The Ray Dalio. I can't remember the name of the book. That's going to bother me now.
Well, I think is what you're thinking, but it's not the guy that mentored Tony Robbins. What's his name?
Jim Rohn.
Jim Rohn. Yeah, I think that's a quote from Jim Rohn. Is like, there's no such thing as new wisdom, right? He says, if somebody says here's a brand new manufactured antique, you should be skeptic. You should be skeptic. There's no such thing as a brand new antique, right? The antiques are things that were long ago, and they're the same today. And I think that's the same thing with businesses. you're going to find everything you need by doing your own research. Self-education is important. Because I think so many people get trapped in the mindset of, hey, I need a coach, or I need somebody that already does this well to teach me how to do it. And of course that works really well if it's very specific. I guess you can kind of think about it as like a college degree, right? If you're going to college and you want to become a doctor, and a very specific type of doctor, and you're already dead set on getting your PhD, then you have a very strict course to get there, and you know how to get there, and you're going to have very specific type of people teaching you. And that'll lead to your success. Whereas if you go and you just get a general business education, you're likely not going to end up with a lot of clarity on where you want to go, because it's just so general. And so that's why when I'm choosing coaches, I'm choosing people based off of very specific things that I need.
It's awesome. That's really great advice, because one of the things that, and I mean, like, for example, our team, we were coached with John Sheplack. I've worked with him. The guy is phenomenal. He's a no BS, no excuses kind of guy. And ultimately, I mean, he will push you to become a better version of yourself. But it's you have to do the work. It's not just, you're not going to have somebody that has that roadmap. And I think that's really important that everyone knows. You got to do the work. That's really what it boils down to, is putting in the work, putting in the time, putting in the effort. So, man, this is a lot of amazing information. I guess, Josh, before we go, if someone wants to get a hold of you, what would be the best way? I know you, of course, work through solar. You're doing roofing and contracting. So if anyone is looking to, if you're a roofer, contractor, if you run a solar organization, what would be the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Facebook, honestly, is probably the place I'm most accessible. So my name on Facebook is Joshua M. Morton. But yeah, I don't, I'm not really all over the place. I need to get better at being on LinkedIn, because we do everything for our clients, but I'm not everywhere, right? So I don't really practice as I preach on being everywhere and, being omnipresent. But yeah, definitely Facebook would probably be the best place to reach me.
Well, shout out to my content team, because it's not, I mean, being everywhere is very challenging when it's just you. So I mean, if it wasn't for my wife and, of course, we have an admin, Caitlin, who is very good at, and even a lot of our own team members, just getting out the message and sharing. So, and then of course, people that are editing our videos, there's a lot that goes into it. So totally get that. But well, Josh, thank you so much for coming in, and definitely looking forward to everyone's feedback on some things that they're putting into practice. And guys, if you want to reach out to Josh, Joshua M. Morton, you can reach out on Facebook, and of course, there's a wealth of information. I'm sure he can help point you in the right direction or help you grow your business. So guys, for everyone that's tuning in, appreciate y'all watching. I hope that you have a great week. We will be on same time, same channel next week with a couple of different individuals that I believe will really help you grow. So Josh, thank you again. And until next time, everybody, we will see you the same time, same place.